So training camp is underway and day 2 is in the books for the Carolina Panthers. It's hot outside, man. I'm telling you right now. It's hot as hell in Spartanburg, South Carolina. But these guys have been on the field putting in work, and things are really getting exciting. There's been some flashes and a lot of news that have happened coming out of camp. So we're going to talk about it all right here today in this video. So I'm going to recap day 2 and give you all the things that happened as of note. We're starting right now.
Let's go, man. Let's get it popping, man. Another day to be blessed to be out here, man. Hey, let's get it, man. Squad on 3, 1, 2, 3.
What up, dude? It's Aaron Duncan here with the video brought to you by Necessary Bluntness Sports Talk, bringing you recap and analysis of the Carolina Panthers. So, guys, make sure you subscribe if you don't want to miss any news and updates. I give takes, analysis, breakdowns, film breakdowns, podcasts, and live streams. I got all kind of Panthers content and NFL content. So if you want to stay up to date, make sure you don't miss anything. You got to hit the subscribe button because these things are going to be coming rapid fire with training camp going on. Unfortunately, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be a lot of news. Guys getting moved around, shifted around. So if you don't want to miss any news, you got to subscribe, man, and hit the bell icon. And make sure you give this video a thumbs up, first things first, before we get into all this business. But without further ado, I'm going to recap what happened today. We're going to start on the offense. The biggest thing of note to me that I guess it was before practice is Robbie Anderson was not present. He wasn't on the field today, guys. He just wasn't there. Why? A team spokesperson from the PR department told us that it was because of an illness. Now these days when somebody says somebody's missing practice because of an illness, the first thing you think is, oh my God, he's got COVID. And you don't know how long he's going to be out. You don't know if he's vaccinated, can actually he's vaccinated, what happened. But they didn't tell us it was COVID. They just said it was illness. So if it had been COVID, I think there's certain protocols in place with the NFL and the team that if that was the case, that it was COVID-19 or he had been diagnosed with COVID or he had been exposed to somebody with COVID, that they probably would have told us. So here's the hoping that it's not COVID, but hopefully Robbie gets well soon, but he did miss practice. As a result of that, our rookie second round gem, Terence Marshall Jr. got a chance to get some extra reps, obviously, in this offense, and he took advantage of that time to shine. This guy had a great practice today when it comes to one-on-one, 7-on-7 drills, and team drills. This guy's he's a big body receiver, guys. I've talked about how much I've been impressed with this guy, and we haven't had this combination of size and athleticism and smoothness as a receiver in a very long time. A lot of people want to compare him to Masin Muhammad, and just hearing somebody say that gives me the chills, you know what I'm saying? Because we haven't had a ton of size on this roster between Robbie and DJ Moore. Obviously, those guys are good receivers, but we don't have a big body receiver, and that may be some reason why some of our shortcomings happened last year in the red zone when we struggled with Teddy Bridgewater. Obviously, having a tight end to participate and help and contribute would have helped too. But having a big body receiver like Terence Marshall Jr. is a good thing because this guy can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. He's got great hands. He's got great size. He's strong. He knows how to go up and make contested catches. He put in work today. I mean, I even got a clip right here of him going up and catching the pass over the vet A.J. Bouye in one-on-ones, going up and elevating after a Sam Darnold pass to him. So Terence Marshall Jr., after having they kind of said that he had a kind of an up and down day on day 1 to come in and string together a day now. He's going to try to be working on that consistency. Obviously, from rookies coming out of college, consistency is key. You can have flashes and stuff, and that's good and warm, makes you feel good inside, but you have to put plays after plays together on day-by-day basis. The great players can show up every week. That's the difference between a star and a superstar. You got to show up and be effective every week, even when the defense knows that you're on the scene and you're coming. But the last thing to note is that he's a lot bigger than I really thought that he was, because I thought he was tall, and then we got some numbers from their pro day where he was 6'2", 200-something pounds. But in his interview after practice, he said something like this. Check this out.
They mentioned that 6'2", 200. What bigger than that?
I would say I'm 6'4". I'm 210, so I have gotten bigger.
That's quite a bit different. Do you feel like that size and kind of your catch radius is an advantage for you?
I mean, yes, sir, most definitely, especially if I'm moving in, into the slot, back to outside. I feel like, it's a big advantage over the DB, so I just use, my strengths to my advantage.
As you can see, I mean, guys like to fluff up their stats, of course, but he said he's a lot closer to 6'4", 210 pounds. He's not even sure where they got the 6'2", 200 pounds from. So having a big body receiver like that, especially to be able to play on the inside or on the outside too, it's going to help him really get on the field, because you can play in any part of the field. You can be plug and play. And obviously Joe Brady, with the experience in the background with those two, he knows how to put Terence Marshall in a position to succeed. So I'll be very excited about this guy. And the Panthers have made very good second-round picks in their history. So hopefully Terence Marshall Jr. can be another one of those. Sam Darnold did have a decent day himself, but he did have an interception that kind of was a little bit overthrown off the fingertips of DJ Moore that fell into the lap of Jeremy Chinn. But he looked pretty steady and solid there, overall after that. Matt Rhule commented after practice saying that Sam looked comfortable. And that's kind of an important thing, because when you're a guy that's been in, 3 offenses in 4 seasons as a pro, you're learning something constantly and you don't really get a chance to be comfortable. So they said from the progress that he's made from the spring to now, he looks fairly comfortable. You know, I mean, it's not so much of what that mistake that he made today to DJ was that he wasn't comfortable. It's just the pass was off target just a little bit. But it seemed like he knew where he wanted to go. He wanted to be decisive. And Matt Rhule he kind of had some comments the other day also talking about that Sam Darnold doesn't need to worry about being a leader or anything. He just needs to focus on being a good quarterback. And a lot of people took that as shade, but I think he's correct. Like, Sam Darnold is still young. He's still trying to find his legs. He hasn't really had a successful season in his career yet. So why would he worry about trying to be this leader that everybody thinks a quarterback has to be when they have a ton of vets on the team? Matt Rhule actually had a great point by saying that. Like, there's no need for Sam Darnold to try to step up and be something he's not right away. He said that a lot of the great quarterbacks in the NFL lead by their preparation and translating that to the field. And that will do a lot more than talk. And I mean, that was one of the realest statements that Matt Rhule has ever heard. You know, he blows a lot of smoke, and I give him a lot of flack. But I got to give him his props for saying that statement, because Sam Darnold just needs to worry about crawling before he walks. So we'll see what happens after that. As far as the second biggest question mark on this team, in particular in the offense, is the offensive line group. One thing to note is the starting lineup for the 5 linemen out there from left to right. Left tackle was Cam Irving. Left guard was Pat Elflein. Center was Matt Paradis, or Paradis, whatever you want to call it. Right guard was John Miller. And right tackle, of course, Taylor Moton. Now, of course, they're trying to make fetch happen, guys. They're trying to make fetch happen. They're trying to make fetch a thing. They're trying to put Taylor Moton at left tackle. They're trying him there. A lot of fans and stuff were kind of groping and complaining about it. I always talked about it could be a possibility. Obviously, it's a little bit different when you're kick sliding from the right side and the left side, so it's a little bit different. But they're going to give him some work at that just so we can get the footwork down and just to see. And Matt Rhule described the offensive line group and the situation as fluid. That could be a good thing and a bad thing. Fluid because you want to be able to move guys around and figure out who's the best combination of what. I get it. But fluid can be bad because that means you don't know exactly what you're doing. I mean, Matt Paradis, John Miller, and Taylor Moton are the returning starters. But John Miller is not really a mainstay guy. He can easily be replaced. And obviously, I got word that Dante Brown, the rookie that we drafted out of Alabama, the big behemoth of a guy, actually did get some work at right guard with the first team offense. So you want to see some of these guys like him and David Moore maybe get a chance to start at guard. Obviously, we signed Irving and Elflein, some vets. But you would like to see maybe the rookies eventually grow enough to be able to play that. Obviously, David Moore can play guard, and maybe eventually down the line he'll be able to replace Matt Paradis at center if he can develop good enough, because he'll be a cheaper option because we picked him up out of Grambling State this year. But obviously, Dante Brown, being as big as he is, he has slimmed down some, but I would love to see him crack into that starting lineup because he's an Alabama offensive lineman. I mean, these dudes, they country strong, they're country big, they're intimidating. You can really bully some guys around and really beef up that right side of the line. Obviously, with Moton and him side by side makes a deadly combination. So I do love to see that. Brady Christensen took reps at right tackle, our rookie out of BYU that a lot of people expected that maybe he could play left tackle, but obviously it was a shocker when most people said that, heard that Matt Rhule said they wanted him to play right tackle. But he's got some reps there, obviously. So we'll see what these different combinations turn out. Obviously, when things don't really mean anything for the offensive line until you get shoulder pads on and you start really leaning on guys and pushing folks around. But this will be something to note, to make of note, and I'll probably keep you guys updated on as these videos go on and we keep updating and talking about training camp. So pay attention to that. For the defense, of course, Jeremy Chinn, our prized, beloved second-round pick last year, has been playing exclusively at the safety position. Yes, we'll see. I mean, obviously, he didn't get much work last year, and he was injured in the spring, so that's why they want to kind of overload him on the safety position so we can see what he gets to look at. But hopefully, he'll be able to stay there and be a mainstay. Obviously, if we need to bring him down to play linebacker, we can, especially since we don't have much depth outside of our 3 starting linebackers. But it's good to see Jeremy Chinn back there at safety, and he made a play today. Like I told you, picking off Sam Darnold off of a tip pass from DJ Moore, being in the right place at the right time. I would love to see this guy have a great sophomore year, especially at the safety position, and be able to move him around. Matt Rhule has noted that Phil Snow and Simmons, the DB coach, will probably find a good way to use him no matter what all over the field. So you got to love our Swiss Army knife of a safety, King Swiper Jeremy Chinn. Speaking of the defensive back position, Sam Franklin and Keith Taylor both had good days. Obviously, Sam Franklin is a safety, and Matt Rhule talked about him after practice, saying that they like what they saw. He got some playing time last year, obviously, and he has a chance to be a potential starter. Now, that's putting Burris on notice. A lot of people thought that they had some concerns about the safety position, mainly because Burris got injured last year. He did make a play, obviously, in a pick against the Falcons last year on the road, and Sam Franklin was very active in the Chiefs game and against the Chargers also. So we have two guys. A lot of people thought we should have signed a free agent, but I think we have enough young talent and speed and a combination of vet with Burris that we can kind of at least get a look at these guys until we get an extended look to see how they are. There's always some guys who could probably pick up if we needed to, but I think it's fine just trying these guys out initially. But Sam Franklin, who was very active today, he had a chance to make a pick. He dropped the pick today, but you love to see that the guys are in position, because that's half the battle, knowing where you're going, being in position, especially playing in the secondary, especially when you have a lot of youth on this team. So that's a good thing to note. Another thing to note is with the base defense today actually was a 3-4. In the weird combination, it was Morgan Fox, Daquan Jones, and Derek Brown with Riddick and Burns on the edges, Shaq and Denzel on the inside at linebacker, and the starting corners were Dante Jackson and AJ Bouye, with the safeties being Burris and Chinn. The nickel, the DBs were the same, except for we added on Miles Hartfield, and then we took off, obviously, at linebacker, we took off Jermaine Carter. But on the defensive line up front was YGM, Brian Burns, Daquan Jones, and Derek Brown. So very interesting to see that group. And if you notice the guys that I said, Jaycee Horn wasn't on the field, man. He wasn't on the field as a starter. And a lot of people may be scratching their head like, why do you pick a guy number 8 and not have him as a starter? I wouldn't be concerned, guys. It's very early. We know how good Jaycee Horn is and talented he is, but they maybe want to get a look at some of the vets. And obviously, I think it's just going to be an adjustment for Jaycee. It's early in training camp. It's only day 2, so let's not overreact. And it's going to be an adjustment period for Jaycee Horn. This guy, even though he's a dynamic guy, and I have full confidence that he will be a superstar corner in this league, he's still a rookie. He still has things to learn. He still has adjustments to make. He even talked about it himself in his video, how some of the techniques that they did in South Carolina aren't exactly the same as they did here. Let's listen to what he said.
One, just like I said, going back to learning the offense, how they're trying to attack me, and then 2, just playing in the pedal. You know, in college I played in the half turn, so getting used to playing in the pedal and things like that.
Can you explain that for us?
Yeah, so some defensive schemes, they like their corners to play in a half turn, like kind of cocked pre-snap, and some like you to pedal out, read the quarterback, read the receiver, play with vision. And in college I played in the half turn, and here it's different. So just trying to get more comfortable with doing that.
Is it a little awkward at first as you kind of get your footwork down?
Yeah, OTAs, it was kind of awkward, but, I'm getting used to it now. When I went back home, I worked on it a lot, watched a lot of film on it, so I think I'm starting to get a good grasp of it.
Whose film did you watch?
A little bit of everybody, but mostly Brent Grimes. He's a real good off-man corner. I watched a lot of his targets and how he played in the pedal, and it helped me a lot.
As you can hear, that some of those steps, the footwork, like he's getting used to being straight back pedal. And you can see this guy putting the work on his off-season tapes and stuff like that in between the spring camp and now. But it's still going to be an adjustment, especially if you've been playing a certain way for 3 years in college with your hips opened up and kind of just being ready to retreat and kind of bail versus backpedaling, reading more so of the quarterback and the receiver at the same time. It's an adjustment as a cornerback. But this guy has the tools and the skill set to be able to make that adjustment. And we saw him make certain types of adjustment in the college game too. So I have confidence in Jaycee Horn's work ethic. They can make these things happen, and it'll happen eventually. It's not going to happen overnight, obviously, like I said, because he's a rookie. But things will happen for him. I have full confidence in that in JC. Last thing to know is Matt Rhule talked about, and Scott Fitterer too, is that they're going to keep trying guys out pretty much on the regular. Not necessarily because they're always trying to pick somebody up, but you always need to be able to have a look at somebody. With COVID-19, putting guys in and out of practice at all times, even if they're vaccinated, even though the team is mostly vaccinated, that you never know when a guy could be disabled or like inactive because of COVID or because of injuries. So instead of just going off of film and picking up guys off the streets, why not bring guys in to try out, get a look at them, be able to put your hands on them, talk to them, see how they feel, see how they fit. That way, if something does happen, you can call them on speed dial and bring them in. A lot of people were wondering why we didn't bring back Clinton Dix after the last mini camp before training camp. And I think maybe they just want to get a look at him, see how he will fit in our system, see how he will fit all the guys. And if things happen, we call him up and he'll be ready. And he's familiar with some of the stuff and the guys that we have and some of the language in this system. So that could be an option at safety if things just don't work out. So that's something to note that all the guys are going to keep trying out. So pay attention to that too. But you guys let me know down below in the comments how you feel about this team thus far through 2 days of camp. Have you been keeping up with everything? Do you plan on going to camp at all? Let me know down below in the comments. But without further ado, I'm Aaron Duncan signing off. I'll see you next time. Peace.